Hi, and welcome to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast presented by Wolf Precision Incorporated, where we learn about and share long range shooting and custom rifle building. I am your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. Hi, and welcome to episode 193 of Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome back to the show. In this episode, we're going to be talking about increasing your accuracy by 50 to 100%. So we want to share with you some food for thoughts on how to become a better shooter, especially in the hunting world. So before we get started, I do want to say a quick thank you to TriggerTech. TriggerTech is the maker of fine rifle triggers. They're made from our friends in the great Canadian North, and what I consider probably one of the safest, easy to install, easy to adjust triggers on the market. They make lots of different makes and models, single stage, two stage, flat shoes, curved shoes, the list goes on and on. So if you want to upgrade your rifle and you want to do it with a trigger, stop over and visit triggertech.com today. That's triggertech.com. We'd also like to thank MDT. MDT is the maker of a fine rifle chassis, a great upgrade for your rifle. They make lots of different makes and models, including the new Timber, which we like a lot. Some new stuff coming out later this year. We're sort of privy to, excited to talk to you about. And it is a great way to get the rifle to fit you better. So if you want to shoot better, get the rifle to fit you better. And you can do that by upgrading your stock to a chassis. Stop over to mdttac.com. That's mdttac.com and see their fine selection today. So we just finished up our second in-house shooting school here. This is our fourth class for the year for the shooting school, but this is the second one held in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. We had a wonderful time. Now, we had clients from as far away as North Pole, Alaska. That was awesome. We really appreciated having them come the whole way down here to join us in Johnstown, Pennsylvania for a shooting school. So it was a pleasure. We had some brothers here as well, and I always say that that's a great way to attend the school is to come with someone you know. Come with someone you know you're going to spend time with and spend 3 days together. Like these gentlemen were probably guessing in their late 40s, maybe early 50s. And you can tell that at that age, everybody's got careers and families and life and all the other things you have to do. And rarely are you ever going to get to spend 3 days shooting together, spending time together, enjoying a sport together. So the shooting school is a great excuse to go and do that. And we certainly enjoyed having everybody here. In the class, of course, we have lots of females come through the class, and she came within 10 points of winning the Top Gun hat completely on her own. Just a great shooter. She's going to go out and do great things with a rifle. I have no doubt about it. Really understanding the art of marksmanship. But it's what really inspired this podcast that we're going to release here today is that I think in a lot of minds, especially in the hunting world, they've got a couple things turned upside down. And I just want to share with you, not an opinion, not something that I read on the internet, not something that a guide said, not something that Joe Blow down the street, who went on an elk hunt 35 years ago, said that this is the ultimate elk cartridge and what you have to shoot an elk. I'm going to share with you why and how you can shoot, at least cut your groups in half, if not increase your ability to shoot by double. And that's by taking and using a smaller caliber. One of the things that I've learned over nearly 2 decades of teaching a shooting school is not everybody's a Magnum shooter, and in the hunting world, it doubles down on decreasing the shooter's ability to shoot. So our goal here and what we love to do is it's marksmanship. It's the art of willing the bullet to go downrange at extreme distances and hit small targets, and learning to work with fundamentals, learning to read the wind, learning to understand the weather and what it does. What does density altitude mean? What does heat, height, and humidity do to the bullet in flight? How do you correct all of this real time? How do you engage movers? What's the mathematical equation that we've been teaching for 15 years on how to shoot a mover, how to do the math, and some of the things that we teach are old school. We always go back to being able to run a manual chart, how to make a manual chart, and simply because we've had lots of instances where the phone dies, your app dies. This last class, I couldn't get the horn of the app to turn on for at least a couple hours. It happens, right? And if you're looking at an elk or a big game animal or you're on a hunting trip and you need that information to shoot, we feel that there's some value in learning how to have a backup copy, a manual copy. You don't need it. It's there. It's a great tool, but you're not tied into that as your only key to success if the shot is at distance. But let's go back to caliber selection. So I'm just going to throw it out there. If you're going on a big game hunt, I don't care what it is. I'm a shooter first, and I love the passion of marksmanship. And when I think about shooting, I think about shot placement. When I think about shot placement, I'm thinking about putting the bullet exactly where it's supposed to be able to go and being able to do it every single time, right? If you're going on a hunt, if I was to offer a suggestion to my friend or to someone who's a close relative that's just getting into this, just like in this last class, I would always suggest that you look at and possibly purchase the smallest caliber you think you can get by with. Now, I know that goes against the grain of everything that every elk guide will tell you or everything that you're going to read on the internet, and I'll probably even get some hate mail for putting this out there, for advocating shooting big game animals with small calibers. And I'm not doing that per se. What I am saying is that you should evaluate your shooting and your shooting abilities. Then think about the animal that you're going after, and then think about the caliber selection in a way that says, okay, I'm going to shoot whitetail deer, right? This is what I'm going after. What is the smallest caliber that I'm comfortable with that I think I could take a whitetail deer? What conditions am I going to be shooting in? Am I going to be shooting the Pennsylvania woods, or am I going to be shooting in a little bit more open area? Are they southern whitetail deer, or are they northern whitetail deer? Are they deer from Michigan, which are much bigger and tougher? What's the smallest caliber that I think I can get by with? Perfect example, 243, 223, 220 Swift, 22 Hornet. I can give you a laundry list of calibers that I know lots of people have successfully harvested whitetail deer. 410 shotgun with slugs. I know one of my uncles who's just a couple years older than me had taken his first whitetail with a 410. One of the reasons I'm bringing this up is if you want to shoot your best, you have to take recoil and caliber into consideration. Here at the shooting school for more than 2 decades, I can draw out the best shooter in you almost every single time. And part of it is we've been doing it for 20 years, and we've been blessed to see all the things that go wrong with shooters and see all the things that happen poorly. But another key factor to this is reducing recoil and letting people focus on the art of fundamentals. Let people focus on having fun. And in doing that, you'll be surprised. It's like the light switch comes on. They're not afraid of the rifle, and they're having a thing called fun. And that changes everything. A gallon water jug, right? I'm a varmint hunter. We put them up at 1,000 yards with food coloring them just because they blow up. They're sort of fun to shoot. And everybody can say that I went to a shooting school and shot a piece of steel at 1,000 yards. But to hit a gallon water jug, I think is really challenging. And to do it on your own. Like when you're shooting at 1,000 yards, you're on your own. You're making your own wind calls. You're making your own adjustments. You're spotting your own shots. Key, spotting your own shots, right? And they're having a blast doing it. They're watching their own bullets go downrange and hitting. They're shooting golf ball-sized targets at 200 yards. The first time they're trying in the wind. That's just amazing, right? And so my suggestion, especially in this class in particular, was I think the biggest error people make is as soon as they start to get into the hunting world, they fall down that rabbit hole of doing the internet research and everybody and their brothers giving the advice of the biggest caliber that has testosterone injected in the back of it that everybody must shoot. And that if you don't, it's some type of unwritten sin that you're committing, that you're some type of evil person because why would you try to take a big game animal? Listen, they've been shooting big game animals with bows and arrows for centuries, right? Animals are not bulletproof in North America, at least not yet, right? And I tend to think that if you want to be a great shooter, it's a doubling effect, right? So if you think about the animal that you're going after and you think about what is the smallest caliber I think I can get away with to harvest that animal, what distances do I think I'm going to be shooting? Or if I pick this caliber, what distances do I have to stay within? An example would be a friend of mine, his daughter has shot 2 really big black bears, and both of them were probably within 100 yards, 110 yards. Both of them were shot with a .223, shooting 60 or 62 grain solids and headshots. Yeah, big black bears. 13-year-old girl put the shot right where it's supposed to go. That's hunting and harvesting animals. Know your limits and shot placement. Now, if he would have given his daughter a .308, which is probably what most men would hand their children, thinking that you have to have that bigger caliber bullet to shoot it, would she have been able to shoot it in the head? Would she have gone and practiced with it? Begrudgingly, maybe, right? And not having fun, not wanting to go, right? There's no qualification in getting the snot kicked out of you trying to train up for a hunt. You're never going to shoot that rifle enough. You're never going to learn it like the back of your hand, and you're never going to have fun shooting it. The other thing that I like to take into consideration, and we're going to dive down this rabbit hole in another podcast as well, that we're going to start talking about caliber selections, big versus small. A lot of people don't take into consideration then they go with the biggest caliber they can get. They get a 300, 338, whatever, 30, 338, and they can't handle the 190 grain with the recoil, and they bump down to like a 168 grain soft nose or round nose. And what they don't take into consideration is the opposite happens. So they think that because they got such a big caliber that anything out to 200 yards, I'm just going to blow a hole through it. And then beyond that, I'm good, 300, 400, 500 yards. But how many people out there, and just a show of hands listening to the podcast now, although I can't see you, how many people know the minimum distance in which the bullet will perform? How many people know the minimum speed or the maximum speed that the bullet will perform? How many people know the window of speed that bullet was designed to perform in? You'll be surprised that there are some hunting bullets out there that their speed range or performance range is something like 1,400 feet per second to 22 or 2,500 feet per second. What that means, and nobody pays attention to that top number, is if you're shooting that 30 caliber bullet at 3,200 feet per second, and that elk walks out in front of you at 50 yards, and you shoot it on the shoulder, there is a chance that that round is going to blow up on the shoulder of the elk and not penetrate. You're going faster than what the bullet was designed to do. It's going to wound the daylights out of the elk. It's probably going to bleed like crazy, and you may break the shoulder, but there's a good chance you might not get the elk. We had a gentleman about 3 years ago, we talked about this in a previous podcast, had actually called, and he had a 270 after I released the podcast, and he said he nailed it twice at like 50 and 70 yards, never recovered the animal, and both good shots. And he was just totally stunned. And for years, he couldn't figure out what possibly happened that animal got away. After listening to the podcast, he was like, he went and looked up the bullets. Sure enough, man, he is cranking on that at close range with a bullet that wasn't designed to shoot at that speed or perform at its maximum ability at that speed. And so you can have the opposite effect, the pendulum. And I liken it to this too. Like, what if we did the same thing with archery, right? What if we said that if you're gonna go on an elk hunt, you have to have an 80-pound draw. Everybody on their brother is going to shame you if you don't have an 80-pound draw. Well, how many people can pull an 80-pound draw and hold it? How many people are going to be able to practice with it without blowing their shoulders out or without hurting themselves? How often are you going to be able to shoot it? And when that animal's standing in front of you and you're struggling to pull that bow back, just like you would be struggling to shoot a Magnum well, are you going to be able to put that arrow where it's supposed to go? And the answer would be no. I mean, everyone would agree that if the draw weight is too big or too strong for you, you're probably not going to shoot it well. And, may hurt yourself in the process. Well, wouldn't the same thing apply to a massive caliber? You're not going to shoot it well. And you're probably going to hurt yourself in the process. So I wanted to talk a little bit more, and I know I'm going to get heat for this, and there's probably somebody's going to post this up and put it up on whatever forum and say, listen to this podcast, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. And yes, I've not killed every big game animal in the world. So as far as that goes, you're right. I admit I have not shot every animal with a small caliber that's ever existed. However, though, I'm a marksman, and I'm an instructor, I'm a teacher, and I love the passion of putting a bullet where it's supposed to go. I love learning how to teach people how to shoot. I love passing that information along and sharing that information with people and watching them come to life with a rifle. And I've also learned that most people will struggle with big calibers. And when you force them to shoot much bigger calibers than what they feel comfortable shooting, then they're going to struggle. They're not going to shoot well. They're not going to practice. And then when it comes time to place that shot, the shot placement is going to be horrible. There's no making up a horrible shot. I don't care what caliber you're shooting. If you gut shot an animal with a 300 Weatherby or a 223, it's still a gut shot animal, right? So I would rather you know your limits and pick a caliber that you can go after and shoot really, really well. Keep within your limits that you set. Set yourself a goal. Say, hey, I'm not going to engage an animal out past 200 yards with this caliber, and stick with it, right? I think personally you're going to find yourself in a much better position, and I think your future self will thank you, and I think you'll be surprised on how many things you can do or how well you can go out and accomplish your mission with these types of calibers. The next podcast we're going to get into, I'm going to dive into small calibers first. We're going to dive into my thoughts on the different calibers and caliber selections, on the different bullets. And then the following podcast, we're going to dive into big calibers. And then the last podcast will be the giant caliber. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the pros and cons. We're actually going to look at some of the bullets and some of the bullet designs. I'll give you some pointers and some tips, but I'm actually going to go into the bushes a little bit deeper on this one and share with you some food for thought, maybe how to do your research and what you would be looking to do to get the maximum performance out of, let's just pick 2 calibers in each category and go with it from there. Before I continue on, I do want to say thank you to Krieger Barrels. Krieger is a family-owned and operated business out of Wisconsin. They are a second-generation barrel makers. They make world-class barrels, some of the best in the country, and they offer what's called Krieger Direct, where you can order your barrel and have it in as little as 2 to 3 business days. Now, to listeners that don't know, when we order a custom barrel from Krieger, we can wait somewhere between 9 months and a year from the day we order it until we receive it. So the fact that you can order a barrel and have it that fast, to me, just amazing. So they offer this program so that customers like yourselves that would like to purchase a barrel and don't want to wait a year, you don't have to get in line behind all of the builders like myself to place big orders. You can actually log on, and they do a great job of trying to keep some of these calibers in stock, and you can have your barrel in as little as 2 to 3 business days. So if you want the best and you need it now, stop over to KriegerBarrels.com. That's KriegerBarrels.com today. Some updates on the online long-range shooting school. So we're getting ready to get back into some filming. This will be session 3 that's getting ready to kick off, and then we're going to get into some care and maintenance of the rifles, and we may tag the reloading later on with this as well, at least some tips and tricks, but it is getting ready to kick off again. Our shooting season is full underway. Super excited. Got some new cameras en route. Try to give some more advanced footage as well as some field tips, talk a little bit about all the little things that you can practice and work with in the field. And we have several people here that we're going to take advantage of that are great marksmen and film them a little bit, trying to explain and show some of the more in-depth detail when it comes to the art of shooting. Now, that said, our online long-range shooting school right now is at a discounted price. It is $49.95 a month, and we have been working on the online school for about 2 years. We have nearly 18 or 18 and a half hours of content posted. By the time it's done, it's probably going to be closer to 30. So if you think about purchasing a DVD or something that's long-range shooting tutorial, right? Think about ordering one that has 18 DVD, 1-hour DVDs in it. That's really what we've done. And it is our in-person shooting school online. Everything that we talk about, everything that we teach on there is the same things that we do here, with the exception of here we actually get hands-on with the rifle. So I think 2 things. I think it's a great precursor to coming to the in-person class because it's going to give you an overview, at least give you a chance to have a run at the buffet and see what's all on there. And that way you won't be surprised when you get here of all the different subjects that we talk about. And you'll have a little bit more understanding, so that way you can get into more of the details of what we're going to talk about. So I think that's the first one. The second one is after January 1st, we are going to take it back to its normal pricing. So if you sign up for the online long-range shooting school at the $49.95 it is currently at, and you do so by June 1st, you will be locked in at that price, and that will stay. It will not change. You can stay on the online long-range shooting school for as long as you like. Those signing up the 1st and beyond will be at our new pricing, which is going to be announced via a newsletter next week. So if you would like to join us and you'd like to get in before we change the pricing, you're more than welcome to. And we're changing the pricing just because so much work went into it. It really is high-end content. We're really proud. It is my life's work, all wrapped up in a video that you can attend to school, from the convenience and comfort of your own home. And we're still buying equipment, and we're still spending a lot of time with it. And in doing so, we have to make sure that we're taking care of, not just ourselves with all the work that we do, but also all the team members, paying for all the equipment, paying for all the work that we do to the range to keep it in condition it's in. It's really a lot that goes on in the background. And when we started the school, the content wasn't complete. So the online long-range shooting school is actually complete now, and all the content is there. Everything that's going up from here is bonus content. And so when we first launched it, we kept it at the discounted price because people were actually going along as we kept filming and updating new episodes. So after June 1st and on, you'll see our price increase. If you would like to join us, we'd love to have you. We have lots of students from around the world attending. We really enjoy all the feedback. We think and we hope we've done a great job to pass along a lot of great tips to you. And if you sign up before June 1st, you can sign in at the discounted price, and that price will stay for you as long as you stay with the course. The other thing I want to touch base on is we have a couple slots left for the in-person class. We only have, I think, 7 more shooting schools for the year. We did have 1 or 2 cancellations. So if you would like to join us, you're more than welcome. I think one of them might be in July. I know we have a couple in September, and we did just announce another October class. So we just announced a 5-person class. Those dates are up, and you can register now online. We'd love to have you. We were full since February or March of this year. All of our classes were filled, and we tried to add a couple classes for those who would like to attend. That way, at least we have a couple slots open. And so if you want to, you can stop over to wolfprecision.net, and you can take a look at all the classes and selections that are out there today. On the custom rifle building news and a couple little tips and tricks. So we've been trying to do a blog about every week, and you can see that on our website. It's just a little couple paragraph thing, food for thought from the shooter's bench, something like that. And then, of course, we have our YouTube channel, which is for free. You can stop over to YouTube and you can visit us there. We're trying to put out a fair amount of content, and it seems to be going well. We're not really hyper-focused on building a massive YouTube channel. It's just trying to share some information that we can share and give some tips and tricks to whether you're shooting custom or factory or otherwise, as well as some nice stock reviews and things that we find here that we like a lot, and we want to post up and just share with people some of our findings. Now, keep in mind, we're very particular in any of the products that we use. We only use the very best, only ever, and we hold ourselves to that standard, and that goes from every part and piece of the rifle to the equipment that we use, to the patented technology that we use, to the people that are team members here. So when we start posting up things and we start talking about some of the products, if we use it, we like it, and we think it's a great product. But if we find things that we're really not super excited about, or we think it's weak, there's some things in it we just don't like, you won't see it on our website. And a lot of people ask, hey, do you build on this stock or do you build on that stock? And I hate to throw them under the bus. I don't want to post up videos of all the things in stocks that I don't like and point out all the things that are sort of not the way that I would really want them to be as far as a shooter goes. And so what we do is, rather than do a bad review, we just don't review them, or you just won't see it on our website. And we try to leave it at that, so that way we're not trashing a company that may turn out to be a great company someday. Everybody goes through their learning curves, their product development. Next thing you know, they're making world-class chassis. And so we like to leave the doors open, and we like to leave honest reviews. But when we find new product out there, like the new PSC stock that's going to be our new Cross Canyon, it's incredible. We're going to try to invite him on for a podcast to talk a little bit about the stock and its history. It's been around for quite a while. It's finally made its way to the United States. It's going to make for a great dual-purpose rifle or for a long-range rifle, and we've actually built a fair amount of rifles on them already. And if you want to see the review, you can stop over to our YouTube channel. And last but not least, you can sign up for our newsletter. If we have new announcements, new products, anything like that that's coming out, we send out a newsletter about once a week. We don't use it to just send email after email after email. It's usually just once a week. It'll go out. And then if you enjoy the podcast and you like the content, you would like to share it, we really appreciate it. If you'd like to join our Wolf Pack and you'd like to support the show, you can sign up on Patreon. Just look for Wolf Precision. It's $3 a month or $20 a month to help support the show. We certainly appreciate that as well. So the next podcast we're going to get into really big details on, I'm going to pick out 2 calibers that I would focus on in both what I would consider small calibers medium calibers, big calibers, and then maybe we do another one on large calibers. And I want to look at it from my perspective of what bullets I would be looking at, what speeds, what distances, just to give you an idea about how I would be approaching the parameters of purchasing the smallest rifle we can get by with. When you're going on a hunt, if I had to give any advice, I would go that route. I say that when it comes to selecting a backpack. If you're taking a backpack on hunt, don't go out and buy the largest backpack made to man. You're going to fill it. I say that when it comes to buying a motorcycle. Don't go out and buy the largest CC motorcycle in the world. You're probably going to kill yourself on it. I say that when it comes to buying a sailboat. Don't go out and wait the next 10 years saving money to buy the largest sailboat made to man. Get a smaller sailboat, one that you can enjoy, one that you can handle single-handedly, and one that you can actually afford to buy now and go out and enjoy yourself. So it's not like this rule doesn't apply to other things, and I think in archery is the same way. You've got to limit yourself as to what pull weight you can pull, and not everybody can pull an 80-pound bow. And so the same rule, in my mind, applies to rifles, and I just want to share with you how I would approach that for different animals and maybe some of the bullets that I would select. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us here on the podcast. We really appreciate it. If you have any feedback, comments, please comment down below. And if you have any questions, of course, you're more than welcome to reach out to us here at Wolf Precision via email or phone. We're always willing to help and spend some time with you. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us. My name is Jamie Dotson. I'm your host, and you are listening to Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Podcast.